evening, I'm Ashley Gaston. Welcome to the Weekend Report. Did you vote? Turnout usually is not overwhelming for Saturday elections, but the decisions made by a small percentage of voters will affect a large number of you for years to come. Whether your child goes to a new or remodeled school, who represents you on the school board and a city hall. One of the most hotly contested races is for mayor of Port Arthur. Incumbent Dolores Bobby Prince is facing a challenge from Councilman Harold Doucette and Laura Redo Harrison. Prince is seeking her third term. Under term limits, it would be her last. Dolores Bobby Prince won with 54% of the vote, and Harold Doucette received 43% of the vote. Laura Redo Harrison received 3% of the vote. KFDM reporter Justin Hinton is covering the Port Arthur mayoral election. He joins us live with Mayor Dolores Bobby Prince at her election party on the campus of the Lamar Institute of Technology in Port Arthur. Justin?
We're actually at the City of Port Arthur's Department Club, and right here I'm joined by Mayor Prince and all of her fans and her friends and family members and supporters. And just about 5-10 minutes ago, you got the call saying that you had won. Tell me what was going through your mind at that moment.
Well, I was sitting here in deep anticipation. I didn't want to assume that I had won. I would rather wait until the final numbers were in, and they came in, and I thank God for that.
And what does it mean to you to have all of these people behind you that supported you and that helped you during your campaign?
Well, it wouldn't have happened without them. So I do want to thank, that's the first thing I want to do is thank all of these people who are here, and there's some kids who've had to put up with me all of the, all of these months since I announced that I was going to run. So I do thank the citizens of Port Arthur for the confidence that they've placed in me.
And talk about this will be your third and final term. So is it a little bittersweet?
Yes, because I'm enjoying myself. I enjoy working for the city of Port Arthur. I enjoy working with people.
Can you talk about what you have planned for this upcoming term?
Well, first of all, I'd like to sit down with the city manager and look at what it is that, his goals are for the city and probably expand on those with him. But we need to be looking for funding for the city of Port Arthur for infrastructure. We need to be looking for funding for more demolition, streets. We need money for streets. And I hope people understand when we start working on that it takes quite a bit of money to do all of the things that we want to do. But I think that the council and city manager can get some of those things accomplished this year. Go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we look forward to that, and I'm sure everybody in Port Arthur is looking to see what you will be doing with this upcoming term.
Good. Thank you.
And with that, Ashley, we'll go ahead and send it back to you in the studio. Justin Hinton reporting live in Port Arthur.
Thanks, Justin. Councilman Harold Doucette had to give up his seat to run for mayor. Two people are competing for his position as the District 4 councilman in Port Arthur, Rosalind Linden Queen and Robert Troy. Robert Troy received 55% of the vote. He beat out Rosalind Linden Queen. 6 candidates are running for 2 seats on the Port Arthur School Board. They include incumbent Theo Victor Jr., a former longtime trustee. Julia Samuels is among the candidates trying to earn a seat on the board. The other candidates are Robert Reed, Anthony McDaniel, Regina Drake, and Tracy Thomas. The 2 candidates with the largest number of votes win the election to the board. Robert Reed received 26% of the vote. Tracy Thomas received 22% of the vote. They are the 2 that won. Anthony McDaniel received 14% of the vote, and Theo Victor Jr. received 13% of the vote, with Julia Samuels at 13% and Regina Drake in 6th place with 12% of the vote. Voters first elected Becky Ames to Beaumont City Council in 1994. In 2007, they elevated her to the mayor's seat. Prior to that, she was first elected to City Council in 1994. Ames is running for re-election. She faces a challenge from Christopher Jones. Mayor Becky Ames won with 92% of the vote, and Christopher Jones received 8% of the vote, and that is 70% reporting at this time. 5 candidates are running for 1 seat on the Port of Beaumont Board of Directors. They include John Johnson, Sam Serio Jr., Dale Dowell, Pat Anderson, and Lester Smith. Pat Anderson received 37% of the vote. Sam Serio Jr. received 30% of the vote, and John Johnson is at 25% of the vote, and that's 70% reporting at this time. In Jefferson County, voters are deciding whether to create an emergency services district to help fund the volunteer fire departments in LaBelle, Finette, and Cheek. Firefighters say it's important to help improve fire protection in the growing communities in Jefferson County. 54% of the residents in those areas voted yes to the Jefferson County ESD, and 46% voted no. Now that's only 70% reporting at this time. Mike Lout is running for re-election as Jasper mayor. It would be his third term. Lout owns Rayburn Broadcasting Company. He faces a challenge from Max Griffin, who is an airplane pilot. Mike Lout won with 68% of the vote. Max Griffin received 32%, and that is 100% reporting. Vidor Mayor Kenneth Crawford is running for re-election. A councilman in Vidor, Trey Haney, is challenging Crawford. Kenneth Crawford won with 81% of the vote. Trey Haney received 19% of the vote. People who live in the Little Cypress Mauriceville School District are voting on a $56 million bond issue. The district says it would use the money to improve campuses, improve technology, and make them safer and more secure. 58% of the people who live in the LCM school district voted yes. 42% voted no, and that's 100% reporting, so it's final. The LCM school district approved the $56 million bond. Voters in Kirbyville also went to the polls to vote on a bond issue. The $20 million bond would pay for renovations and upgrades to the campus. People in that area also voted. 53% voted yes, 47% voted no, and that's final. 100% are counted. The Silsbee School District called a $29.5 million bond issue to build a new elementary school and to renovate the Laura Reeves campus for pre-K and kindergarten. The bond would also pay for renovations to middle school campus. 51% of the people who live in that area voted no. 49% voted yes. It was a close one, and that is 100% reporting. Voters in Lumberton are deciding whether to elect Stephen Templeton to council for a full term. He was appointed to his council seat earlier this year to replace his father, Bo Templeton, after he died. Bo Templeton had served for several years. Now his son is running for the position. He faces an opponent, Tommy Blanchard. Stephen Templeton received 80% of the vote, and he won. That's 100% reporting, and he won against Tommy Blanchard with only 20% of the vote. In Orange, 2 council seats are up for election. Incumbent Colin Smith is facing an opponent, Tommy Ferguson, for the position 2 seat in Orange City Council. Tommy Ferguson received 61% of the vote, and Colin Smith received 39% of the vote. Now that's only 60% reporting at this time. And Annette Pernell is running for re-election to her seat in position 4 on Orange City Council. She faces an opponent, Mary McKenna. Mary McKenna received 51% of the vote. That too was a close race. Annette Pernell, 49%, and that's 100% reporting. So Mary McKenna won the council seat. A reminder, you can go to KFDM.com to read more about these election results and to check on other races in Southeast Texas for city council positions and school board seats.